This week has been one of open letters circulated in the media. What really are the motives behind these open letters? You're welcome to the Media Review segment on Insight. Joining me today to discuss this issue and a few other issues is the Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Mr. Primus Kanoba. You're welcome, sir. How are you today?
Thank you very much. It's okay, fine.
Okay, it's great to have you here. Let's move on to the first story I would cover for today. Among the open letters, as I said earlier, that were circulated, the two were really striking. That's a letter from ex-President Obasanjo to President Jonathan, and also the reply from the ex-president's daughter, Iyabo, to him. What do you think about the media coverage of these letters generally? And what do you think about the public reaction to these letters?
Well, they had all news sources, good news materials for an editor to play around with, especially when it's coming from a political godfather to a godson, as it were. And that's the one between former President Obasanjo to President Jonathan. Ordinarily, once it's a news that you think has broken, and the media has to keep a good trend. And that's exactly what happened. And the reply, which shows a division within the Obasanjo larger family, was also a very good news source. And if you discover, in the last few days, the letter from Iyabo has virtually taken the whole shine of the letter from Obasanjo to Jonathan, because it actually portrays, like I said, that the level of morality within the president, the former president, to advise anybody on issues. An African society, the family is supposed to be united. And of course, because of the mood we are, as we approach another transition and politics, quite a number of people were taken aback by the comments of the president. And it also shows our culture. People who are good friends don't fight on the streets by our own culture. And considering the fact that former President Obasanjo is a ranking member of the PDP, as it were, the same party with the president. So,
what did you think about the accusation from his daughter calling him a liar? It was reported on Vanguard on Wednesday, December, that, "Dear Daddy, you don't own Nigeria." And she called him a liar, manipulator, and hypocrite.
Well, depending on the school of thought you belong to, but I think it looks mischievous, because, like I said, within our African traditions, good friends don't fight in the public. And quite some commentators have said that ex-President Obasanjo had several forums to discuss with the president, rather than go public.
Well, he said he's been
trying
to discuss with him, and he didn't get any feedback.
There's this good adage that once the mommy says the soup is very sweet, the kids will break the pot. If coming from former President Obasanjo that Jonathan has some shortfall, what do you expect from those who ordinarily should have respected Obasanjo to accept Jonathan?
Let's move on to the second story, which came out on The Guardian on Monday, December 16th. It said, reps probe use of 100 billion by IEM and Macro. Now, don't you think that this headline is misleading, considering that this headline personalizes the persons in question and not the offices? Because when someone looks at this headline now, the person will probably think, okay, they started stealing again. What do you think about the headline? Do you think it's misleading?
Well, it does not represent the body of the story, because the body of the story traces the beginning, the origin of the money to ministers and secretary to the government before IEM and Maku. Bringing in the names of these two gentlemen did not really get the story well. And I think the editors at The Guardian will need to have a rethink, because and probably at the review meeting they will discover that it was a big goof, because
Yes.
they didn't touch those who were involved. And that Maku is Minister of Information and Anyim Secretary to the government now does not have to have their names. I do not want to use the word misleading, but I think there was...
No, I think so. I think so, because I went ahead to read the first paragraph, and I quote, it says, how both the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation under Ayim Pius Ayim and the Federal Ministry of Information under Labaran Maku used 100.656 billion naira between 2004 and 2012. My question really is here, when did they come into office?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
In fact,
they came
the
into
article
office 2011.
Under, it means it would have happened while they were there.
Okay.
But it did not, because they quoted dates.
Exactly.
So that's why I said there is some element of laziness.
Are there penalties for this?
Yes, there are. There
Okay.
are. Yeah, at a review meeting a week later.
And what are those
day,
penalties?
it could mean reassignment. Somebody somewhere will have to pay for it, one way or the other.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. I think Daily News Watch did the same, but then again, it reported it as 100.5 billion emergency funds, Rep, Probe, SGF, and Maku. It still said Maku, but at least it identified the office.
The office, yes.
Okay, let's move on to the next story.
Some of these things are problems that happen from shared stories, where people decide to syndicate some of these stories among colleagues. So you probably think that...
and not getting it straight from the source.
Because if you look at it, it's not an investigative story, it's a shared story.
Okay, thank you for that. The next story is on Sanusi's letter to the president, where he said earlier last week that 49.8 billion naira was missing, and then he also said that no, it's not the case, it was a mistake. What do you think about? Do you think that high-profile, officials should actually take time out to confirm very well before they release this facts and figures, because they are the newsmakers?
Quite a number of people believe that once you get to the marketplace earlier than the other, you are okay. And Sanusi's letter was not meant for publication, because he was communicating officially directly to his boss. The chairman of the board of CBN is the governor of the CBN, who reports directly to the president. I do not see where official communication should now be read on the pages of newspapers. Be that as it may, well, it's not the paper here that goofed, it's Sanusi himself.
Okay.
Because...
you don't think how they may have covered that story?
Yes, because at this level, 49 billion naira, it's not a whooping sum. It's a whooping sum. We're quite... And for sometimes, I as a person, as a journalist, I try to avoid figures. And I've tried to share it with quite a number of colleagues, because a lot of people these days, one of the good ways to blackmail anybody is to say, oh, you've taken this or that.
Why would you try to avoid figures? This make the story. Facts and figures make
but somehow,
the story.
Somehow, especially in these times that you really don't know
what you're not sure. You say over so amount.
You leave out.
About so
because
amount.
You see now the whole thing is turning to, if in other good climes, Sanusi ought to just drop his... The headlines today should have been CBN's quits.
But he was there. It was on The Guardian on Thursday, and it said Sanusi admits error in $49.8 billion missing fund claim. But then again, this was reported earlier, and
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Should have given it time, some time. The media should have given it some time to...
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
The time is not there, because here you are. At the time itself, it came at the beginning of the week, where you really need to push quite a number of good stories out. Himself, knowing fully whether he has not completed his own part of the investigation.
Yes. Okay. Let's move to the next story, which is... Okay, I'll just ask you this one last question as a journalist. How do you think that are national dailies, do you think they have a part to play in worthy image building when reporting sensitive issues?
Of course, we do. But right now, my take is that the ownership structures of our media these days, especially what looks like the national media, themselves don't have an agenda. So everybody is just doing what you think will please you or please the other person. But we know at the early time of our practice, Daily Times, you could easily predict what Daily Times could be tomorrow. And in the various journalism centers, the idea is that these days, quite a number of things are not being done because of the situation we are. With the technology itself has taken quite a number of things. Why we do not have electronic meetings, but we rely on the electronic information.
Thank you very much, sir. We have to wrap up now. I'm sure that they will take a cue from what you have just said. Thank you for being part of the segment, sir. Now we have come to the end of the media review segment. I hope you had it insightful with Primoth Kanoba.
With that media review segment, we conclude today's edition of Insight. Thanks for being there, Enito. It's
been nice having you join us today. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube. It is called the Insight Program. Have a great day. I'm Enito KDG.
And I'm Femi Adefila. See you next week. Bye for now.